two-person format it doesn't feel right anymore.
No.
It's like we need the three. Yeah. It's like otherwise it just doesn't feel natural.
No.
So, all right. Well,
has anybody been able to watch the Me Tunes TV yet?
It's not on Fios.
No.
It's not available in. It's not available down here.
It's 33.2.
Yeah, if you have like
channel.
broadcast or something. Yeah, it's not available in the city.
I gotta double check if it is on Spectrum, but I
don't think it is.
No,
it's
no.
But I also I was looking in the App Store to see if the Me Tunes was going to be there on for the app. They have the Me TV app, but they don't have the Me Tunes. So
I think if it takes off in the other areas, I think eventually we'll get it down here. I'm thinking maybe by the fall.
Well, listen, it's one of those things where it's like everywhere else in the world, they don't have Hulu. We have Hulu, which is why Disney's trying to get rid of Hulu.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, well, let's get everything started and rolling. So, welcome everyone to the Dragoon's Lair podcast. I am the Blue Dragoon himself, Daniel the Dragon, and we have back once again Mike, King Hamster Pellet himself, Chiavo.
What's happening, people?
And, of course, the incomparable family man himself, James Haynes.
Your favorite chef is here.
That's right. How'd you do in the competition? Let everyone know.
I made top 5 in my section. And look, out of 25,000 people, I made what? The top 5.
There you go.
And that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, we're used to top 6 around here, so you made it into the top 6. So,
oh yeah,
congratulations. Thank you to everyone out there who voted for Jimmy.
Thank you who voted. Thank you who donated. Thank you.
I voted. I wasn't paying the extra for those extra votes.
No, you're fine.
They don't like it that much.
No.
I like you, but not
that much.
No, not where money is involved. We celebrated the 4th recently, so it was our independence.
Yes,
from each other.
Yeah, so we all celebrated it separately. It was quite a nice little respite. Now, we're getting ready for our season finale, so our next episode will be our season finale, so expect that we're going to be trying to throw a few curveballs in on that one. But yeah, so Mike, since we didn't have an AEW review and highlight for last episode, what have you got for us this time?
Well, let's see. When last I was here, they had their last pay-per-view, and the main event was Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay. Now, any other point in time, you would say, okay, I can see Swerve dropping the belt to Ospreay. That didn't happen. I like the fact that they put on a 10-star match. Both of these men laid it all out there. It was a highly enjoyable match, D. I would give the entire pay-per-view a solid B+ rating. Swerve and Ospreay were the highlight of the night, in my opinion. They put on a 10-star match. Ospreay didn't win the belt, but at the end, Ospreay's in the middle of the ring. Swerve walks up, gives him like the hug, the pat on the head, and eventually you will see Ospreay wearing AEW Heavyweight Championship gold. Fast forward to this past Wednesday, it was Will Ospreay versus Daniel Garcia in the main event of Dynamite with MJF in Daniel Garcia's corner. For the majority of the match, for the majority of the match, MJF stayed out of it. He let the two men do their thing. Again, highly entertaining match, but out of the corner of your eye, you're watching MJF. What's he going to do? At one point, Ospreay's out, and Garcia is wobbly on his feet, and MJF tosses Garcia the TNT Dynamite diamond ring. Everybody's like, oh, he's going to crack him with it. Doesn't hit him with it. Okay, he hits Ospreay with his finisher, takes the ring, tosses it back to MJF, and then out of nowhere, Ospreay comes in, hits Garcia with the finisher. 1, 2, 3. Ospreay wins. Garcia's in the corner. He was like, oh, man. He's all playing it up that he's upset and everything else. Just like in the pay-per-view, Ospreay walks up, gives Garcia a hug. He's like, relax. He goes, you got this. You're going to have gold. Just give it time. Walks out of the ring. MJF comes up and he's like, look, he goes, this is all on me. You can read his lips. This is all on me. He goes, this is my doing, blah, 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 blah. The two men stand up. And, you know, and Garcia's, you know, like all crying and everything. And all of a sudden, MJF kicks him in the balls. And it was like, okay, this is only a matter of time before he went back to heel. Yeah. Who went back to like full-blown heel MJF. And he's bashing him in the head with the ring. Matt Menard comes down. He gets clocked. And they did a shot of him on the outside, just like blood all over his face, all over his eyelids. So it was like, holy shit. More people, like more refs come out trying to pull MJF off of Garcia. And he's just wailing away on him. And he ends up, you know, with MJF is wearing Garcia's blood all over his t-shirt. You know, and he walks out. This is how Dynamite ended, and everybody's like, okay, now he's back to being the full-blown, not in-betweener, in my opinion. He's back being the full-blown heel where he's just like, fuck everybody. I'm doing what I want. You like him, you like me. You don't, I don't give a shit. So, MJF is back, baby.
All right. So now, Jimmy, what do you got for WWE? Because we have a pay-per-view premium live event, however they want to phrase these things nowadays. We got that at the time of us recording. It's going to be tomorrow for Money in the Bank. But what do you got?
Never mind.
On a Saturday?
Saturday because they get
Yep.
NXT
Really?
Sunday.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
NXT has their event on Sunday.
Beach break.
Yeah, listen, you know, it's Independence Day recently, so we got to celebrate our independence by doing something we normally don't do. But then again, they've already made the announcement. Hunter said, what was it, like SummerSlam for like next year or something?
2026,
Yeah,
Minnesota.
Yeah, they're
2 days.
2 days. Like, they're looking for their major pay-per-views to take 2 days. I'm sorry, but this is
too much.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I think summer, I think Minnesota, eh?
In
You can't get more
2026.
summer than Minnesota.
Well, guess what? With the way our planet keeps changing the climate, I wouldn't be surprised if in 2026 in Minnesota, they'll be a lot happier because it'll be a cool enough climate that they won't be dying of like.
Just as long as it's not 48 degrees like it was in WrestleMania this year.
No, but
Night one.
Yeah, but remember
That was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Hot chocolate, get your hot chocolate here.
Yeah,
Get the beer, hot chocolate.
So Jimmy, what do we got for our highlights for
Well,
WWE?
Let's see. Everybody knows CM Punk and Drew McIntyre have been going neck and neck since our last podcast. Well, in Chicago, CM Punk's like, yeah, I'll give my stuff. I'm almost ready to come back. All of a sudden you hear boom, boom, boom. You open up the gates. It's Drew with CM Punk on his back, all bloodied up. He got to him. He got him.
Yep.
And next thing you know, he brings him outside to the arena, and he just like, ooh, what a lovely shiny bead thing. You made this yourself? Okay, I'm going to take it for a while. And now he thinks, he's like, yeah, Punk, you're my bitch. By the way, I'm going to Money in the Bank, and I'm going to qualify. I'm going to qualify, which he does. And then from there, we'll see how it goes, because it's going to be very interesting with that. Basically, with that, there's predictions between, spoilers, I'll tell everybody on this, either Chad Gable winning and, well, as we know with Austin Theory, Chad Gable could do the same, since Sammy told him done at the last pay-per-view. And he could basically say, fine, I'm cashing in on you. Or you're going to see McIntyre cash in on the winner of the Rollins Damian Priest match. And that's going to be a little bit interesting, since the Judgment Day is starting to really fall apart there between Finn and Damian and Ray and Liv Morgan getting in between. And Mommy, who, congratulations on your marriage,
Yep.
is...
To Buddy Matthews.
Yep.
I heard when she
That's
comes.
her daddy.
I heard when she comes back, she's not. She's not in the.
I believe
Judgment
the same
Day.
thing.
We'll
on
see.
that
We're
one
going to see
also.
what happens because we got to see where the storyline
Yeah.
is going. But it looks like she's probably going to be going after the Judgment Day for siding with Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
And not only that, now you also have a wise man in a hospital bed thanks to Bloodline 2.0.
If you can call him that.
Yeah.
Who was the
I
new
would.
bloodline? Because I just
It
saw them
is
to put.
Jacob Fatu, who is known in MLW as the Samoan werewolf. He's a former champion there, and
Oh no!
He
If you
can
see
fly.
him, when you see him,
for a 300-pounder, he can fly.
and he look at like he has like that like psycho kind of look that they had with Umaga.
Minus the paint. And then you got
Wasn't he also Rosie Umaga?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. He was Jamal.
Jamal.
Yeah.
That's what I was. Jamal.
Yeah, 3-minute warning.
Rosie was the superhero in
Training.
or as Goldust would say, he's the shit when he had the
All right,
Tourette
yeah.
syndrome. But and then you have King Tonga's kids, Tamatonga, Tamaloa, aka the original Bullet Club, the Gorillas of Destiny, Gorillas of Destruction, and of course Solo. So look for them to start causing chaos around the SmackDown locker room there.
Yeah, what was it? They just gave Paul Heyman the Shield power bomb
Yep,
through the table. So they did that to a Hall of Famer. So I'm gonna take a little break before we touch
Oh, and
on.
before we
Yeah, go
say
ahead.
on that,
No,
they
go ahead.
also probably did that. It's because a original OG bloodline just passed this week. Seeger.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
that
Roman
was-
Reigns' father had passed away, so it's it's a sad day. We feel bad for him on that one. Thoughts and prayers. Not much we can do other than that.
Well,
Now, I do want to touch on DC released a little bit of their slate for some of the upcoming stuff. We know Peacemaker's in development for
Good.
season
Yes.
2. They're already doing season 2. It started filming.
Yeah.
There's a Waller series for Amanda Waller.
Animated or live action?
Live action with Viola Davis.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
There's a Booster Gold series.
yes.
Animated or live action?
That they haven't really said. The only image that we've gotten so far is just the logo for Booster Gold. And then there's Green Lantern, which will be the Guy Gardner Green Lantern, which will be Nathan Fillion.
I see.
Which
I want him as Green Lantern. I think he would be a better fit as
Hal Jordan.
Hal
he was
Jordan.
always
He was always Hal Jordan.
Yeah,
He was Hal Jordan the voice too,
Yeah.
besides Chris Maloney.
yeah. So he's the guy that looks like he should be, but they've shown like some images and stuff of him wearing the wig, and he's wearing like the leather kind of like outfit for the Superman Legacy, along with the Hawkgirl character.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see how that one plays out.
I'll give him a shot.
Although right now the wig for the bowl cut looks terrible.
They need to readjust that.
It does. They need to do something at least like, come on, if you're going to do a bowl cut,
Well, okay,
you need
let's-
a better wig.
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a testing. Maybe it was
Yeah.
a throwaway wig because maybe he was doing a stunt. Who
Yeah.
knows? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
Listen, I love Nathan Fillion, but at the same time, it's certain little decisions. Like when you're going to start releasing little things and you see like the wig and it looks bad. I mean, Hawkgirl's costume looks really good.
Yeah.
I like the look of like the leather outfit and everything. But it looks very corporate, like if it's like the Maxwell Lord kind of style of superheroes.
Well, you remember he's in it too.
Yeah, so we'll see how that one all plays
And
out.
I know they're filming in Cleveland. They filmed.
Yeah.
They did some finished in Atlanta. Now they're filming in Cleveland because a friend of mine is part of the set. He's a tourist in.
Well, there is also an animated one that they announced that's coming out, The Creature Commandos,
yes, that's coming out
Which-
in December.
which I'm sorry, it looks like this is a crew that has Weasel on it from the Suicide Squad
Yeah.
movie. So I mean, even
Was it
animated,
weasel or ferret?
It's a ferret.
it was a
He was creepy looking weapon.
Yeah, whatever it was.
He was stupid.
He ate kids, so it was like, really? It's like, leave it to James Gunn to pick some of the weirdest characters and give them a spotlight.
Well, that's what it was in the comics, so.
Yeah. Now, anime-wise, I want to touch on this because the spring season like really wrapped up. There were a few seasons, like shows that the season that I gotta say like I really enjoyed. You know, Mishoko Tensei Jobless Reincarnation. I love season 2, part 2 that came out. Mm-hmm. It really like got everything ready, and they made the announcement that there is going to be a season 3. There's just no date for it. Demon Slayer, the Hashira training arc just ended, and we got the announcement that the next season, the Infinity Castle saga, is not going to be your standard like episodic. It's a 3-movie trilogy that will be going to the theaters. And if we saw anything from the last time Demon Slayer went to the theaters for a full-blown movie, which was the Mugen Train, they killed at the box office. Like, they were literally raking in money for it. So I'm excited to see, like, the animation style is always going to be upped, especially for a theatrical release. And a trilogy for this is going to be amazing.
Speaking of film, have either of you seen Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2?
Of course, I saw it long before you guys did, remember?
I have to watch this part 2.
What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it, but I gotta wait until the 3rd installment comes out. I need like it to actually be fully fleshed out to like do a long watch all of them to see how I really feel about all of it.
See, right now, when I heard they were doing Crisis, I was like, yes, finally, because that was one of my favorite stories from the comics.
Yeah.
Seeing the way they're doing this, making everything long and drawn out, I'm on the fence. I mean, I pre-ordered number 3.
But when you see that many characters, you can't do like a quick movie do it justice.
No, I'm not talking about doing it as a quick movie, but from the beginning of the story in the comics, you knew the Anti-Monitor was the big bad, and you don't even make mention of him until like maybe the last 20 minutes of the second film.
Listen, but that's the thing, you know. How many people remember it? Remember when they came up with the original Crisis on Infinite Earths? What was it? It was in the 80s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've got a bunch of newer comic book fans that they may not know it. They don't know the history. You know, I have to address this while we're saying this now. You know, on YouTube, Comicstorian passed away. Benny from Comicstorian. He passed away recently, and it's a loss because I would watch Comicstorian's channel and like I'd get to hear the stories and know about some of the comics that I didn't get a chance to read or that I wasn't hunting for like the back issues, and it kept me up to date. And it's a loss for the comic book fans and the industry in itself for not having someone to be able to do those recaps. And Benny was really one of like those guys who he was like an OG when it came to the comic book space and putting things together. He had podcasts, he had the YouTube channel. They would do like theatrical readings of like the stories and stuff.
He's basically reading the books and telling people the books. He gave theatrical reactions.
He would leave
really good.
Yeah, he left certain things out, so you'd still, if you wanted the full story, you'd have to go back and get it. But he did it through like the different years for Injustice, like throughout that series. He was doing it for so many of them, and it's actually a really loss, and we didn't get a chance to address it on the last episode, but this was a perfect opportunity for us to address this. So on behalf of the Dragoon Slayer podcast, you know, our heart goes out to his family and his friends. You know, I never got a chance to meet him, but the character that he was and that his personality coming through the screen, you felt like he not only was a genuinely good guy, but also he cared about his audience and putting out the best stuff for them and sharing the things that he loved.
What was it, Justice League Apocalypse? I believe it was the anime, or was it Justice League Dark Apocalypse, where everybody was put into the.
That was Justice League Dark Apocalypse
Yeah.
War. Yeah.
That was like what?
Well, that was for the end of like the new
Yeah.
52
But
version.
I'm just saying, watching that movie, I was like, whoa! Just like
I
seeing.
actually, before I watched the movie, I heard Benny describe this, and it was amazing. And then you're like, I look forward to seeing it
Yeah,
and everything. It's like,
Yeah.
I've read Flashpoint, and then I heard him say Flashpoint and everything. Even with both the Crisis, Infinite Crisis, and Final,
Yep.
was really nice to hear from him on all the information and stuff. And speaking of also comics, I was at Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, which everybody knows moved down 2 stores and everything. Store was amazing. Got to see it in Red Bank this weekend as I went down to.
Mike's been there countless times.
Yeah,
I've been there a bunch. It's a
Asbury.
cool place.
I was down at Asbury. Nice little retro arcade with pinball. But anyway, met this guy named Mike Schwartz. All right, for those that know Mike Schwartz, he's also a writer of R.L. Stein's Zombie Town, No Malone, and ABC's of Death. Well, he's got a comic out. It's called Armored. All right, the first 2 issues are out. I got to have him signed, got to talk to him about it, got to talk to him about the podcast and all. And he was really enthused. He's also got himself a podcast also that he also does with the comic with Wizards Comics. But basically, Armored is about a boy who's just got into a foster family. They just lost their son. And he's at this school, and he's not liked because he's filling in the space of the kids. So he's trying to fit in. And next thing you know, goes to this castle, finds his crest, presses the button, and the button puts an armor on him. And inside the armor is the previous owner. And he gets to train him with the armor, and they get to fight monsters and a whole mess of other little creepy duos and everything. And his 3rd issue, he said, will be out in September. So keep an eye out on it, and it's pretty good so far. If you want to read, the name of it again is Armored. And for Kevin Smith to feature it, that was pretty damn good.
Yeah. So now, but getting back to what we were saying before, newer comic fans aren't going to know the story of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
No.
So, there's been several crises the same way Marvel's had like their multiple secret wars. Mm-hmm. But, I like the fact that it's being drawn out for like the newer fans, because I never actually read the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. I know the backstory behind it, but I never read it. And because it was too many different issues all over the place, and I was still a kid at that time. So it's like
With Crisis, when the original issues came out, it was 12 issues, and that was it. It didn't really they didn't do what they did with when they did the DC's Blackest Night, where it was like Blackest Night, but then they did the Wonder Woman offshoot, they did the Batman, they did Justice League. They didn't do all that with Crisis. Crisis was just straight 12 issues. Mm-hmm. That was it. Everybody was in Crisis, and they didn't do any offshoots.
Yeah.
So it was just 12 and done.
All right.
But if you remember from the comics, what were the 2 big issues of that issue?
Like I said, I didn't read it, so I wouldn't know.
It was issue 8. It was issue 7 and 8. 7 where Supergirl dies. 8 where the Flash dies, Barry Allen.
Yeah.
So I want to see. I mean, do they live or do they die? That's what That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
it already looks like Barry's gone from the ending of the first movie. So we'll see what happens as the rest of them progress. And I mean, let's face it, we heard Mark Hamill as the Joker's voice in the second episode for the second movie. And then we know that Kevin Conroy should be popping up in the third installment. Right. But we did hear you had Will Friedle as Batman Beyond. Mm-hmm. So it was great to hear Terry McGinnis along with and seeing him with the rest of the other Bat family members.
Right.
Which is really funny considering we know from Justice League Unlimited that Terry McGinnis is biologically Bruce's son. And then you got Damian there, mm-hmm. and it's like father. It's like he kind of could do the same thing.
Right.
So there was like little things like knowing like certain elements, you can have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Now, I gotta say, like, because we're talking about DC, anime-wise, they just released on Max, and it's also on Hulu and a few other platforms. They released Suicide Squad Isekai.
Right.
Now, I gave you an out, like, to not watch it.
I watched it.
Yeah. But
I watched the first 2 episodes.
You've made it perfectly clear you don't like reading your cartoons.
Because you miss too much. Because you got to read it and what's going on.
Listen, I had to do it with Tokyo Vice. You have the switch. You press the back. It was an hour show. I'd get finished within an hour 20 because I kept hitting repeat.
Well, listen, if you do it enough, you don't even notice it, let alone you may not even realize.
You want to make sure you get it right.
But I know it's dubbed. That's the funny thing. I know it's dubbed. It's just a matter of finding the dubs. I don't know what platform it is dubbed on, but I do know, like, right now, Max, where I was watching it, was subtitled.
Yeah.
They're 4 episodes in. You watched 2 of them.
I watched the first 2.
Now, I've seen all 4 so far, and I have to say, like, I was never, like, big on some of the characters that are in the Suicide Squad. I know more of the Suicide Squad from, like, the animated movies and the live action stuff. So, looking at the roster that they have for this,
Interesting.
it's an interesting roster, but the tone itself is, like, very, like, I can't place it. It doesn't feel like the James Gunn version, but at the same time, it feels a little heavy to the point where I'm like, I don't know if this is really capturing the essence. So I can't. I mean, the animation style is beautiful.
The animation is very, very nice animation style. Just like the story, I didn't feel like I was watching a Suicide Squad film.
No.
I felt like I was watching these 4 characters go on an adventure.
Technically, it's 5.
5 characters.
But, you know, it took them a while to reveal King Shark. But, when you look at the roster of what Amanda Waller is sending through, you have Harley Quinn, which is expected. You're expecting Deadshot. And then you have Clayface, which was
which was different. I wasn't expecting Clayface.
Wasn't expecting Clayface. You have Peacemaker,
who had a bag over his head.
Yeah, when I first saw him, I'm trying to figure out who it is, and I started to realize it was Peacemaker from how he was talking.
Yep.
But appearance-wise, he looked like a kind of a cross between Michael Myers and Jason from Part 2 of Friday the 13th, because he had the potato sack over his head.
He reminded me of one of the characters from, I think, Resident Evil 5 when they're in the village. Guy came chasing after you with a chainsaw and he had a sack over his head. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, so it was like, it's an interesting look. Takes them till about the 3rd episode for them to get their costumes, really.
Does he take the sack off his head?
Yes, he has the helmet.
Does he look like John Cena?
No.
Okay. I was thinking maybe that was the big reveal.
No, you don't.
John Cena.
No, you don't see his face. It's like he goes.
The helmet?
He goes from the sack
to the helmet.
It's like
one of his many helmets, if you remember.
Yeah, but this is like the standard helmet. So it's one of those things where I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm not 100% sure how I feel on it. And I'm a huge anime fan. So it kind of feels like it's trying to mix them together, but it's like trying to figure out where the tone lies.
Right. And another thing I want to know, does time work differently in this? Because they only have 72 hours until they go kaboom.
Yeah, which is hilarious. But no, Peacemaker is literally keeping a running tally of the time they have, because they've got to get back towards wherever the portal is, so that they can go and it will reset the time. And you find out this isn't the first team that they sent through.
Right, because didn't like Rick Flag go through before or something?
Yeah, they come across Flag, but you also see, like, by the 3rd episode, Ratcatcher. But Katana's also there too.
Right. Wait, no. Is she there? Did they send her through?
She went through with the previous group, apparently, after she had already helped to lock up Harley. And like the look of the Joker, though,
I don't like it.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like the Jared Leto Joker, where I didn't like the look.
Does he look like the Bat Ninja look?
No.
Batman Ninja?
No.
Okay.
No, he's got like a painted on smile on his face, but it looks like they gave almost like a stitching
Yeah.
in the makeup pattern and stuff. It just
It kind of looked like, when I saw the painted smile, I thought, it reminded me of the Jokers from Batman Beyond with like the painted smile on the face.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe that's not the real one. Because you saw like the face and then it's just like the painted grin like up to his ears.
yeah. You would think it was like the Joker gang from Batman Beyond of like people trying to be the Joker, but it's not the Joker.
Right.
But this is supposed to be the Joker. So even though he's not sent to the other world and we got Harley, which at least they kind of keep Harley a little crazy, but it's not the same. And like Clayface is the only one, because he's an actor. It's like, it's an isekai and he's all
Right.
theatrical about it. So
Yeah, he was a drama queen.
yeah, which it to me, that just kind of made it a little more fun. Mm-hmm. So,
Like, watch me, I can do this.
yeah. We'll see how long this takes for it to go through, and I'll give like a full impression like when it's done. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get like the immediate impressions from you guys. That's why I posed it. You didn't
Interesting.
watch it yet, so you can give your impression.
If someone had the
I'd say interesting, very
Yeah.
interesting. It's different.
So I'll catch up.
Not horrible.
Yeah. But it's
interesting.
like you're still trying to figure out
Right.
the tone and like where it falls.
Right.
Because is it going to be more anime or is it going to be more DC orientated?
Mm-hmm.
Which we had that same problem when they did those anime versions for Marvel.
Yes.
And like some of them, they looked cool, but they didn't really fit.
No, they didn't.
So we have that going on now. I want to take a quick break because I'm going to cut in. We have Danielle and I are talking. So Danielle Maravet Hernandez is back with us to talk more Bridgerton for the season finale of Bridgerton. So we'll be right back after this. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. And we are back once again with the ever popular Danielle Maravet Hernandez.
Hello.
And we're talking Bridgerton
Yeah, we are.
because we didn't get a chance to last time.
No.
We did mention that you were under the weather last
I was
show.
struck down. It's still real, people.
Yes.
Sanitize and test often, because coronavirus! Well, specifically COVID, but people don't like to say it anymore.
Yes.
It's still there.
Yes, but we're glad you're doing better.
Thanks.
So, yeah, so Jimmy and I had mentioned that you weren't feeling well, and he wished you all the best as well.
Thanks,
So
Jimmy.
we've gotten a lot of well wishes for you for that.
I felt them. I felt them.
So now we've had the final episode of Bridgerton, the second half of the season's over, done with, and we did find out recently that it was going to be about 2 years for the next season. Mm-hmm. So what was your impression of how they went overall with the second half of the season and an overall of season 3?
Well, overall, second half, I binge watched. Like, I set my alarm for 6 in the morning because I knew I would not have time, and I did not want to have a spoiler day where I had to be off the internet. So I got up at the crack of dawn to binge watch the episodes, do a little screaming and kicking and jot my notes, like, oh my god! So overall, I found it very exciting and dramatic. The pacing felt off because of the smashed lines of characters that we had to tie up with a knot. So I went back a second time after the initial watch. I was very excited after the initial watch. I had some reservations, but overall, loved it. Very happy. And I went back to do a full watch with the 8 episodes of season 3 so I could see how do they flow together, because they were separated, and so you do get them in different chunks. You experience them differently. I keep saying you. I mean myself. I mean me.
Well, our viewers out there who
Yeah.
are actually watching Bridgerton.
Us, yes, but that's the thing.
It's a community
I can't speak
experience.
for the community because the community is so heavily divided now. But these are my thoughts. I really appreciated it. Once I watched all 8 episodes, they do have a flow. It's just not a steady flow. It's a bit chaotic, but they are still bingeably watchable, and overall I was pleased with season 3. I liked it more than I thought I was going to, because truth be told, I did not have much investment in Colin and Penelope. I enjoyed their book, but I also found it to be a placid book, like borderline boring, because most of the drama is conversational, and that's changed for the film and the camera. So what I found instead was it's chaotic, but it's fun. But I also found it to be strikingly similar to season 1. Did you watch season 1?
Yes, I've seen all 3 seasons.
Okay, so in season 1 we have this secret romance where they're pretending to woo one another, but they're really not, but oh no, we fall in love. And then in season 3 we have Penelope asking Colin for help to find a suitor, so instead they're like accidentally wooing each other, but they're not in love, but oh yes they are, and they get together. We have that same dramatic, like angsty wedding, which I was mixed about. I was like, why does the wedding always have to be angsty? Personally, done with angsty weddings. I would very much enjoy a celebratory 100% we're here for it wedding. That would be so nice. Let us have that, please. Please. So that was a match to season 1. And then, of course, the betrayal after they're married. They were different in season 1 and season 3, but it's still kind of there with now Colin deciding he's been betrayed. I mean, the difference here is Lady Whistledown has been a very public figure and has notoriously created smear campaigns against several people, including the Bridgertons that she has claimed to love. And she does love them, but she's also taken actions to protect them from literally life or death threats that they may not have known about, i.e., Eloise in the past, with the Queen suspecting it could be she, but it was not. So I don't know, I didn't love how long the betrayal scene went on, and then not just went on, but it was interrupted with so many other storylines that we could have picked up the pace and had the other elements come in, but instead we're following Benedict and his 3-day threesome. We're following the Mondriches just throwing a fancy ball and moving on up, which they do, but did they need all of that time? I personally think Shondaland really likes the actors. I really like the actors, but I think they must have a long-term plan for them that we, the audience, don't know about yet, and so it felt like a lot of filler in between. And I've been reading a lot of frustration with all of that filler, and that Penelope and Colin did not get as much screen time as previous couples got. What are your thoughts on that?
See, now, my thing is, like, I watched them, and I could see, like, I see where you meant the parallels of season 1 and 3, but you can also see a little bit of that as a parallel from season 2 as well, because of the rocky relationship going on, where it was like, oh, he's marrying for the wrong reasons. This one, it's like he's now marrying for obligation. So there's kind of a little bit of a parallel there, but
Obligation that he set up, by the way.
Yeah, well,
Penelope wasn't like, hey, let me go check out our new apartment. Colin was like, hey, babe, you want to see where we're going to live? Tee-hee-hee.
Oh, I think
And then he's like, you entrapped me with my own penis.
No, he
Can
was
I say
more...
penis?
he was more entrapped, though, when you actually think about it from the carriage. So before we even got...
Again, like, these were all Colin's forward actions. He asked for consent, and we're grateful for that. Consent is hot. But he was still the one who was like, tell you what I'm going to do. And then he cracked all his knuckles and went ham.
Yeah, but I mean, like the entire thing, because I never read the books, so I can only go by what we're getting from the seasons. So, you know, when I'm watching it, you know, where you're saying like that it was Lady Whistledown is going and she's creating so much controversy, and it's like she's betraying the people that she supposedly loves and trusts. At the same time, you can also kind of compare it to like the superhero genre of protecting the secret identity. Bruce Wayne going out there and embarrassing himself repeatedly and making himself look like a rich idiot while he's out there going and protecting the city at night as Batman. So no one thinks like, oh, this rich idiot is going to be the person who's the hero.
Right. And
so,
I'm glad that you say it like that, because we see an example of Penelope doing exactly that in the first half of season 3, where after her transformation, the Ton finds out that she has asked Colin, an eligible bachelor, not someone that she's related to help her find a husband, and that is scandalous. You can't just do that. And so she has to write her own smear campaign. And actually in the books, Lady Whistledown writes smear campaigns about Penelope Featherington all the time. She is her own bully in the book series so that no one would ever guess that it was her. Penelope in her yellow dresses turn up a lot in the Lady Whistledown snippets that we see.
Yeah, so it really was one of those things where I felt like there was a decent flow to it, and I do see where you're right with like there being a little bit of a chaos when it came to too many characters, because it really at certain times it was like, why are we following this character when we have a main storyline going on? And sometimes I wanted to follow Mommy Bridgerton more than anyone else.
Oh, right? Because she had a fun storyline.
Oh, yeah. And that was the thing. It was like, oh, her story, from my understanding, was not part of the book series.
No.
So having that was kind of like, ooh, I'm a little interested in the mom seeing how Stella's going to get her groove back, kind of, you know.
She's pretty determined to. And so you mentioned you have not seen Queen Charlotte. And,
No.
and maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But these elements that have come into season 3 were touched upon or even teased in Queen Charlotte, which goes back and forth in timeline, so that you do see modern Violet Bridgerton and modern Lady Danbury, but you also see their counterparts like 50 years ago when Lady Danbury was still married and when they were even elevated to Lord and Lady status because Queen Charlotte came in, and Violet Bridgerton is like a teenager. She's like 13, 14 years old tops. So to see them young and older, the point is that Violet implies that for the first time since her husband's passing, she's become aware that she still has urges as an adult woman, and she does not know what to do about that. Help.
Yeah, so for me, it was one of those things where it's like her storyline was, I felt, probably a little more interesting than even the main storyline. So with Colin and Penelope. So it was one of those things where some of the characters I felt like pulled a little more focus than they were supposed to, and I was enjoying that. So I enjoyed the overall feel of it, but then again, because I know that they took elements from other books to like mix and match to like tell kind of the story, but also to make it a little more coherent, because I'm pretty sure, just like most adaptations, if you try to do everything from that, certain things aren't going to translate visually, or they're going to slow down the pace.
I find that at this point, we're 3 seasons in, and with that being said, we just have to separate the books from the TV show now, because not only has it become its own thing, with its own characters who don't exist in the book but are very beloved by the audience, and they do exist for us now, and just acknowledge that the books are basically the skeletons that are going to be decorated and shaped upon. But we've gone balls to the walls here. It is just pure television. This is the other thing. Shonda Land knows good television. She keeps her shows alive for a very long time. And she only brings resolve when she wants to bring resolve. She knows how to keep it going, and I think that's what we're feeling now in season 3. Season 1 was very much like, hey, here's this book, we like it, we're gonna dress it up, but this is pretty much the book. Here's a bow, you're welcome. Season 2, they were like, hello, I've done my own thing, and I remember the book, but this is what we're gonna do. And season 3 has corralled, yes, from other books, so many minute details. I remember there was a simple moment in the beginning of season 3 where Penelope is talking about grass, and that is lifted from a conversation in a romance novel that's not hers. And I remember when that happened, I was like, hold up, I know exactly where this is from. This isn't a masquerade, this isn't Benedict's romance novel, and yet the lines in his book just showed up here. And it's really small details. Only people who've read the books way too many times, hello, might pick that up. But in addition to all of that, we do have other narratives weaving in. So, for example, Francesca has her own storyline, and Francesca has created lots of controversy because they have modernized Francesca's character and decided to weave in modern love stories with this one. But her love story, like her romance novel, I mean, begins with tragedy. So, like, hers is about being a widow and finding love after grief. But for that to happen, we have to meet who her loved one was, and so we get to meet John. I was very excited to get to meet John because in the books he's barely 2 pages of existence before the poor dear has crossed over and like seen the light, and it was really nice and touching to breathe life into him. So that was fun. But the controversy comes in with the end of season 3, where you meet this important character who shows up in her book, and that is John's cousin, who they've gender flipped. So in the book, his name is Michael, he's a man, he's John's cousin, and they bond over their mixed and shared grief over losing John, alas, the poor dear, and that is part of how they come together. But the way they've done it in the show, besides gender flipping, is the response that Francesca has had to the new Michaela, whom I love, by the way. I was fine with it. Like, I was not bothered. But I also did not have attachments to her book. So there needs to be a few acknowledgments here. One, the controversy that a lot of fans are unhappy about, once you acknowledge the gender flip was a huge shock for some people, was also that in the books, Francesca truly did love John with all of her heart and soul and all of her being. And the only reason that she decides to remarry is because she wants to have a family and to have children, and so she's struggling with fertility in the books. Now, in the show, there was this talk about the difference between quiet romance and not everything has to be bells and whistles and being thunderstruck. And then at the end, when Michaela is introduced and has her one line, which actually perfectly, she is the essence of Michael. She just is. Like, love her. But they gave that reaction to Francesca, where she's thunderstruck, she can't speak her name, and a lot of fans feel like that invalidates the love that she has for John, especially when you consider there's this moment where they share their marital kiss, and she's not head over heels for it. I don't know about you, but I actually found that very realistic. Not every first kiss is roses in the wind, and that's okay. We as people have different preferences and might have to teach each other what we like or even discover what we like. So that didn't bother me. But I do understand people feeling like her being thunderstruck by Michaela implies that it's love at first sight for the husband's cousin and she does not genuinely love John. So, like, that controversy's all in there. Obviously doesn't exist in the books. It's like a blip in the line in the books, and it's like, Francesca's married and in Scotland now, don't worry about it. But then there's also the controversy of people claiming that they're not going to watch the show anymore because they're so butthurt over Michaela. And I'm choosing that word on purpose because I think there's a difference between loving a book character and needing to grieve that change. I think we can honor that, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. If you loved that book character for 20 years, like I read these books almost 20 years ago, then it's going to take a little while. But if you are taking the time and the energy to demand that Shondaland fire this actress, harass the producers, harass the directors, and like remove your support, but then throw all your energy into letting everyone know you're removing your support, then we've gone counteractive, and now this is problematic behavior. You can choose to leave Bridgerton behind. It's fine. But if you also kick up a temper tantrum, your message is getting lost, and it just looks like bad vibes.
Yeah, I'm somebody who I'm okay with the gender flip when it's done correctly. And it was like the controversy that started early on back in the early 2000s with Battlestar Galactica, where
What is that now?
they gender flipped some of the characters, one of which everyone knew, Starbuck, from the original series back at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. And it was Dirk Benedict playing the part, Face, from the original A-Team, and now it became Katie Sackhoff. And I'm sorry, but I can't picture anyone else but Katie Sackhoff after seeing her performance.
Okay.
So I feel like it was done with the right casting and gender flipping a character, it can work if you do it right and you're respectful to who the character is.
And that is exactly what I want to support. Like, the woman they cast, she had one line, and in that one line she conveyed the energy that is Michael. That book, Francesca's book, I mean, is titled When He Was Wicked. And the whole thing is that he's a saucy guy and he likes to tease Francesca with stuff that's inappropriate. And Michaela came in, delivered, and I was like, that's it. Michael is here. Michael is Michaela now. I'm ready. And in addition to what you're saying, like, if you tell it right, the other controversy is that a lot of people feel that they've lost their infertility story. And it's a good reminder that just because this is not a male-female relationship does not mean they do not struggle with infertility. It's now the infertility exists on a whole other level, and that grief exists on another level. And we're asking you to open your mind and expand your horizons and see what their story will be. I don't think it's going to be terribly different, honestly.
Well, but it's going to all play out as the seasons progress. So
Right.
that'll be a 2-year wait minimum.
Right, and that's the other thing we have to expect, that it takes a long time. You have to write these shows. We just came off a strike, so these people are still working with new protocols, how things are going to be paid, and in the long run, it's only 8 episodes. So it's like, for a 2-year wait, people are hoping, can we at least expand these seasons? Can we do that? Can we do that? And I think Netflix is the ultimate decider for that.
You know what, though? I have to say, I'm actually become more of a fan of the shorter seasons, especially after watching a bunch of British television, because watching shows like Doctor Who, where 10, 12 episodes at most, you know, when that's like your main, and it's like, oh, here's 8 episodes for a season, and then it's done. You can at least focus in on the main story rather than the old standard like 22 episode format where you go and you get a bunch of episodes and some of them may not be as good or they need filler.
I was gonna say, or they're filler.
Yeah. So it's going to be filler episodes of things where it's like, this has nothing to do with it. If you look back at like even the old Smallville TV series, 22 episodes a season, they had some great overarching themes for the season, but you had episodes where you felt like sometimes the freak of the week was a little too much because it took away from the overall narrative.
And that's the other thing. There are so many characters now in the extended universe of Bridgerton that this is, it's becoming a kerfuffle. Yes.
I love the word kerfuffle.
It feels appropriate, right? You've got
Yes.
the Featherington family. They were in a kerfuffle. But it's all resolved now. Oh, and I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough. As much as this was a love story for Colin and Penelope coming together, because they're the romantic heroine and hero, this was a love story of women, of the Featherington family, finally acknowledging, like, their position in life, how they can support each other, and the ways that they express their attention, how it's actually impacting them. Like, there was this beautiful moment after Penelope's wedding where her sister Prudence, who's had to stick up her butt this whole time, because she does not understand why suddenly the bullied daughter is the favored daughter. Like, how did I, Prudence Featherington, fall out of favor? I did everything my mother asked. I'm finally pregnant to this man that I'm suddenly married to. Don't worry about where he came from. We just mentioned off camera, yes, I found you a husband. Don't worry about it. Although, do love the Featherington husbands. They are a delightful presence, and it's just so important to me as the main demographic to see all the different elements of affection between two people, even when it's not always mutual affection. Because again, at the beginning, Prudence did not like her husband. She didn't like anything. She was very standoffish. And then they have to learn.
Yeah, at the start of the season, she really didn't seem like she even liked her husband.
Right.
And half of the time, it doesn't seem like either sister really likes their husbands. They
I feel differently about Philippa, though.
Yeah, but it was more like they just were like, do this, mate, so I'm just like,
As
yeah.
opposed to, like, this is a unit. Also, at the time, it was having an accessory, except the person and flipped.
Yep.
Is he an accessory? No, but we can see how he's being treated. Like, once they were married, they're like, well, I've done my duty. I don't have to do anything else. They're not so invested in, like, for the conversations we have, here are our shared values, what type of life we want to lead. That's modern thinking.
And we talked about it last time you were on the show, where there was a complete and total lack of sexual education there, because they didn't even realize you're not getting pregnant, what are you wrong? And it's like, oh, that's what you're doing
The
wrong.
answer is really not doing anything. But I love that version that addresses how much they don't know. And also, you expect to know, especially in the day and age of suddenly being restricted. It's like you can't put a tiger back in the cage. You got to let it roam. It come up so that we can do things properly. Otherwise, we can hurt Daphne and Simon because she was never taught anything, including cats assault. And Bridgerton does a flare of so that's like we're addressing. We're gonna talk about. Let's make each other laugh. Life is weird.
And it's a period piece, so we're not going to be pressing charges.
Right. Also, at the time, and roughly, like, not something you could do, which sucks.
Yep.
Which sucks. But let's get off that topic.
Okay, so now what did you think about the costumes?
Let's get on this topic. Okay.
I know you wanted to discuss.
I really did. It's been burning inside of me because from the beginning, Bridgerton has been very fantasy interpretation of agency wear. And we said that because of the colors they use in the fabrics. By the time we get to season 3, I think our costume design is too comfortable. They've gotten like they're just throwing darts at the wall and going, oh, what if we just attach some balloons to the bodice, but also Joker? That's like, it was too much. It was maximalistic to the maximum degree. And I feel, one, it takes away from the storytelling when I'm just like, what is happening the rest of the week? Is she in pursuiters? Because they're just going somewhere. I tried, by the way. I was like, I need to put something in here too. Also, those sleeves, wrong time. Come on. Like, I understand. Taking liberties has taken a whole new timeline. But the second half of season 2, I feel like they improved upon it. We have more purpose behind the costumes, and it's not just we have to make trillions of costumes and I don't care anymore. Let me take that back. I don't think the costume designers don't care. I think they care a lot. I just also think like their coloring books all got mixed together and they forgot what show they were working on, and we got to dial it back for the next couple of seasons because it feels to me like this next season that we will be waiting 2 years for is going to decide how many people stick around based on the controversies that we have. We have the controversy with Francesca, we have the controversy with Benedict. People don't like that his storyline was basically just like screw around and find out and delivery into just a rewatchable clip. But it's almost like they don't know what to do with Benedict while they're figuring him out because he left his art behind after feeling kind of like shamed, or like he didn't get into school on his own merit, so what's the point of doing art? He goes so far as to say he doesn't do art when he's being interviewed by Paul, who he then ends up exploring with. Which was fine. Like when the first scene happened, I was like, oh my god, it's happening! They're not just teasing us, it's happening! But then it kept interrupting the momentum of Penelope's secret coming out, and I was like, oh. We're still here. Oh, we're doing this again. Okay, guys, how long have we been at it now? Can someone get a lozenge or something?
Yeah, that's like I said before, it felt like the pacing, because like some of the other stories that weren't the main focus felt more main focused.
Yeah, they were really brought into the forefront. And I feel like that also has to do with them creating more mainstream television as opposed to presenting the book as the season as they had begun to do with the series.
Yeah, I find like most adaptations, if it's not almost exactly like the book, they make a lot of changes. It's like the first season of Game of Thrones really felt straight out of the book, but then again, it was written so it could almost be made directly into the series. But then, like, some of the characters that I enjoyed from the books later on got cut out of the series because they either didn't translate or they just completely ignored them.
Right. And that happens, you know. There are characters who did not make it into Bridgerton. Like, for example, in the books, Penelope has a younger sister who does not exist in this series. Her name is Felicity. She's adorable, and she's a companion to Hyacinth. So you lose all of those interactions, and there are several, and they're so cute. But that's it. They're cute. So it's like, cut. We have to make room for these new characters that have moved into the forefront. And that's just scratching the list. There's an entire family, the Smith-Smythes, that have their own side book character. Now, they got name dropped in Queen Charlotte, I believe, but I can't recall seeing them or whether or not they will be around, but they're often interacting with the Bridgertons. They've been cut, and that's part of bringing something to life. You have to decide what are the core elements we're keeping and what can go, because at the end of the day, they are new storytellers telling this story, and they got it up there. They sold the pitch. They got the budgeting. We either strap in for the ride or we don't. That's our choice.
And also, it's sometimes when even the original creator is involved, they don't want to tell the exact same story over, so they're going to make some changes. Even after it's been out for a while, they can look back on their work and say, you know what? I didn't like the way this came out, so we're going to make some adjustments here and make a few more tweaks there to improve. Sometimes the improvements work, and then sometimes the fans feel betrayed by the improvements and they don't feel like they belong.
Right. So what did you feel like? You haven't read the books, but you watched the series.
Yes.
So like what stood out to you like, this doesn't really feel like it belongs?
You know what? That's the thing. I think being like a Netflix only person, it feels like the stuff pretty much belongs there, but it almost feels like certain things are just a little too out of sequence. Like it feels like there were things that should have happened that didn't, or we're not getting the perspective because that character's not there yet, or they haven't focused on them enough.
Yeah. And that came to play in this season, where a lot of characters just didn't get the amount of focus, but it was supplemented with what we did get. Like, so, for example, we got to see Canthony, Happy Kate and Anthony, which I love, by the way. Just gotta swipe my hair for a moment. I am in the unpopular segment of people who didn't really care for season 2, and that's specifically because I never liked Anthony's character in the books. He's a jerk in the books. And so therefore I couldn't stand his book either. It was unbearable to me. But that being said, once they did get married, you do see Kate and Anthony woven into the other novels, and they are delightful and hilarious. I've always loved Kate, and we got to see that here, and it was so satisfying. Minus the part where he's like, let's go to India now that you're pregnant. And I'm like, don't put your pregnant wife on that ship. Do you know what risks you're taking? But okay, we need a reason for them to not be in that final episode, in that wedding scene, in that. So, for example, Daphne's not in any of this. She missed all the weddings that came up. She's too busy on some other estate because Regé-Jean Page is never coming back. And so, does that mean we'll never see Daphne again? I don't know. But I do like when they can bring the family back together. We don't return to that in final episodes with the Louise and Benedict. We've gotten that in each season now, and it feels like coming home to root almost, because it's familiar and it reminds us a family. That's what draws the viewer in. That's what drew me in initially, to see this family who loves each other, chooses each other. They frustrate each other. That's very natural. But when push comes to shove, they're there for one another. So that was nice. Yeah. Seeing them interact with the youngins was really nice. Hyacinth is just, She's perfect. So her book character, just won't be a while. Hers is the second to last one, so
I guess we got some
15
time.
years from now.
Are you sure 15? If it takes 2 years per season, estimating, I'm terrible at math.
It also depends on what order they go in. So, like, who says they're going to keep it?
And who says they don't merge 2 or 3 books together because
You know,
of the
they've
stories?
actually commented on that because people feel like they did merge Francesca and Penelope's. And again, I can see why, if you don't know the books, you would think that, but that's not her book. They did not weave in her novel here. Nope, nope, nope. They were just laying the groundwork so it will make sense when her novel is told. So either the showrunner or one of the producers did say that with everything that they have to fit into one season, they do not plan on crossing 2 books together in the same season. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess.
Well, until it actually makes sense to cross them over.
And we'll see, because who's left? We have Benedict, we have Eloise, we have Francesca's book proper, and then the 2 youngest. We have Gregory and Hyacinth. Gregory is the final book. And so he will finally find love after everyone else is seated in, if they stick with that order. But they've already gone out of order. Benedict's book is number 3, and with that came this giant time jump. So by the time that Colin and Penelope came together, they were almost 30. Like, Eloise and Penelope are about the same age. They were 28. And Colin is meant to be like 33 or 35. Like, they've all matured and grown up. But in the show, it's like, no, let's get them together now so that we can just have that set, give it to the audience now. Also, how long can you really drag out Lady Whistledown if it is going to take 2 years between scenes, curating, writing, all of that?
And then also having to have the conflict between the Queen and Lady Whistledown going back and forth. It was going to get tired very quickly if they continued on, where they're just constant adversarial relationship continued.
Yeah. Now, that being said, the Queen is not in the books. She is show only. But having this beautiful finale at the end where Penelope pays for the secret ball for her sisters, and we get that great moment of release the bugs, and it turns out to be butterflies, and it's majestic, iconic. In the book, it is someone's random ball, and Colin makes the announcement with Penelope. As a show of force, basically. But that's how it just abruptly ends there. It's like, and everything was fine. The end. But with having the Queen there and Penelope addressing her directly and alone, that was a very powerful moment for her, and a nice full circle. And then she has that gorgeous shot where a butterfly lands on her finger and she's just making eyes at it. And it is just, someone fan art that. I haven't seen it yet. Where is it? Let's go. Let's go.
I'm sure it'll be on some Reddit page.
You know what? Fan art takes time. I'm so sorry. Why am I rushing you? Thank you for your service.
So now, were there any highlights that you thought stood out of the entirety of the season 3?
Define highlights.
Like, what's that, the shining moment that it's like, that moment you felt like you couldn't look away from?
You know, I do have favorite moments, and I feel like they may feel obscure to other people, but I found the engagement party episode absolutely to be my favorite. I think that was number 5 or 6. I think it's number 5, the second half. They have an engagement party, it's a giant party, and you have all these families together and they're playing games, and you get to see this huge cast interacting directly with each other and not just members of the ton that we have to be fancy in front of and putting on airs. So I really loved how natural that felt, and to watch this party element. And it's the scene where Eloise and Penelope rekindle their friendship. Not intentionally, they can't help it. It's a wordplay game, and their brains are so stimulated that they're just going back and forth. No one can get a word in edgewise. It's also where Cressida loses Eloise. Oh, and we gotta touch upon Cressida. We've gotta touch upon Cressida, because TV Cressida is not book counterpart, and so a lot of people feel TV Cressida was done dirty because she does blackmail Penelope to try to get the money to get out of this bad marriage, and it doesn't work out for her. But it was pretty cool. Also, she shows up in that stunning red Vision. It was the first and only costume that I wasn't like, what have they done to my boy? You know? Not that Cressida was ever my boy, but I mean, her actress, Jessica Madsen, phenomenal. She really made us feel for Cressida this season. And a lot of fan theories are going around that her next role in season 4 is going to show up in Benedict's book in a way that Cressida never ever did. So there's some speculation that she's going to replace the romantic figure. I don't believe that. There's another speculation that she will turn up as one of the sisters that bully that romantic lead. I do believe that one. I feel like that's very likely because she is listed for season 4, even though book Cressida storyline is done. And by the by, in the book world, she did have to marry that old man. And then he died and left her penniless. And then she decided to blackmail Penelope. So
They kind of jumped the gun on the blackmail.
But I'm saying at least she didn't have to marry the guy. There's a silver lining there. Her story's not over. Obviously, they want something better for Cressida, whereas book Cressida was very much like the punished villain. So stay tuned. How did we get here? Bring me back.
Highlights,
right, because the engagement episode where you can see the wheels turning in her head about why she's even going to make this decision. So I thought, as far as like bringing these two chunks of a season together, it was the perfect stitch because it ties in the first block and then it weaves the narrative for the second block, and it's a lot of fun along the way. So that was a big favorite. And then second, I would say the 7th episode, so the second to last episode, where, there's a lot of chaos, and, we gotta figure out what's gonna happen with this wedding, and there were really excellent lines. I remember I wrote down the writer of that episode, looked them up. I couldn't find contact information. I found contact information for one of their representatives. I emailed the representative, and I was like, I just found episode 7 so powerful. Please commend this writer for me. And it was just the sentiments of secret womanhood, like the things that we're not allowed to talk about or are not allowed to be considered hard or challenging, coming out in these quiet moments. It was beautiful. It was powerful. Chef's kiss. Marvelous.
Okay.
Do it again.
All right. So now, and are there any like major things that you're like really truly hoping for season 4?
Oh man,
because you've got time to ruminate on this one, but like
right, you sure do.
But like the first thing like that comes to your mind, knowing that once the season was over, what were you hoping most for a following season?
Well, I mean, they teased Benedict's book. Everyone's been waiting for this. We're like, feed us his freaking story already. We're tired of him dicking around. It's been fun. Don't get me wrong. Maybe I shouldn't speak for everyone. Maybe not everyone is tired. But like, his book is one of my favorites. 1000%. How you doing, Shondaland? You've heard from me more than once. Hair toss. Oh, and they have. And it's because hers is a Cinderella novel, and I collect Cinderella novels and different versions, and it's because that narrative is so swept under the rug. People are like, oh yeah, we get it, she marries up and her life gets better, but that is such a surface level look at what the Cinderella archetype is about. And so what you get in Benedict's book is someone who's born out of wedlock. Spoiler alert. Someone who's born out of wedlock, but is the proper heir to an earldom. And because she's not born in wedlock, she's not able to take part in society. And then when he dies, what happens? We've got a stepmother and stepsisters who've always hated her, and now we've got the Cinderella thing. And she ends up being snuck into the Bridgerton masquerade, where Benedict is like, who is that? And they have a really beautiful bonding moment, and then they don't see each other again for like 2 years. And this masquerade was teased at the end. They let us know, I'll see you next year for Mother's Masquerade. So they're letting us know, they're dangling the bit. Like, if it's not Benedict, why did you do that? Why are you going to make us wait more than 2 years? Why? Just take a comeback. But also, her name is Sophie. I love her. She's my favorite. Sophie is in me. And it's because her experience is, like, she becomes the caretaker for everyone. And it's an abusive family. It's not all... she's not in an environment like the Bridgertons are. So when she meets Benedict for the second time, it is escaping a terrible situation, like really bad. Like she's escaping a household that she was working for where the predator's son and some buddies have decided to gang up on her, and they're all drunk and on drugs and things like that. And Benedict is leaving this party because he's gotten tired of partying like this, and he's like, but I don't want to be rude. Let me say goodbye to the host. And he sees what's happening and he gets her out of there, but he does not recognize who she is, and she knows who he is. So now she's going through this whole double identity problem where I know who I am and I know who I was to him once upon a time, but maybe that was all in my head. Maybe I've built up this huge fantasy, but she hasn't. Benedict still remembers this person from the masquerade, and she's the one in his eyes, but he finds himself drawn to Sophie, and then he's struggling with someone who's not in his class, someone who is, I mean, we really have to acknowledge that aristocracy does not acknowledge the human needs of the servant class. And that's another reason why I love his book so much, because he's struggling with that. He doesn't understand her problems. He propositions her to be a mistress, by the way. He's like, how about you be my boo thing? And she's like, how about no? Because she is the child of someone's boo thing, and it ruined her mother's life, it ruined her life, and again, it's another testament to womanhood. My work is about womanhood and the stuff that people see and they're like, well, that's her problem, but it's a systemic problem. So to be born out of wedlock and aristocracy in Bridgerton time is basically to be sold into servitude because you don't belong anywhere. People find your existence problematic, and it questions, what do we deserve as people? So there's a lot of beautiful messages behind that. She doesn't want to be anyone's mistress. She wants her own autonomy. Gee, what's that like? Literally, we're fighting for our autonomy again now. It's a story that's pervasive. And then, I mean, you know, the other thing is they're falling in love, and there's a lot of fun shenanigans. There's a lake scene that I can't wait for. Benedict goes swimming in a lake to cool his head, and she's walking through the woods and catches him. So it's like a reverse peeping Tom, which I just know people are going to be like, if this was a guy, it would be problematic. We know. And it's not, and that's what makes it fun. Also, he calls her out immediately, so it doesn't, like, last long. It's not creepy. I've gone down the rabbit hole. I love Sophie Beckett. She's in my heart. She's in my heart. Shondaland, call me. I love you, boo. Check out my show, Danielle XX. We'll talk about that soon. Final thoughts on... Okay, so yeah, my final thought is Benedict's season is next. My next question is, how are they going to do Eloise's story? Because we've met her counterpart. He's already in the Bridgerverse. But he and she are not connected in the same way that they are in the books. Do you want the spoiler? Should I just blah, 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 all the spoilers? Or do you want to be surprised?
I want to be a little surprised.
Okay.
I'm okay with some spoilers for certain things, but this, you know what? It seems like it's going to be so far in the future.
We have so much time.
Exactly.
Some people are even speculating if they're going to nip that character in the bud and be like, we decided not to. Mm. People are still wishing that it was Eloise who was going to get the gay storyline and instead of Francesca. But you got to let Shondaland tell their stories. You got to. You know, the showrunner, she spoke up about how she identified with Francesca's storyline as a gay woman, as someone who recognized grief and struggling with fertility, and so, like, she's got a story to tell, and we get to show up for it or not. I think I'm done with that now.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure, but for now, I'm gonna put a button in it.
All right, we'll just put a little pin in that for now.
Just a little.
All right. So now, you mentioned an article about yourself, so why don't you do the little promo?
I will do a little promo. Okay, so I am a writer of my own one-woman show, Danielle XX, and it's about my expectations of knowing I'd grow up into a woman one day as a little girl, and then my own experience not matching up with that, and then what we are and are not allowed to talk about. So being alive, especially the 4th of July is coming up as we film this. I don't know when it comes out, but
It'll be right after the 4th of July.
so we're celebrating our independence and the liberties that we have today. And Danielle XX explores that. And I've just had an article come out in News Weekly that really let me like dive deep into what we're talking about, the taboos of our bodies and not being able to talk about periods, sex, and not just that, but like how we as women inherently have these desires, but we have to be the ones who are always like, no, you can't have that. No, I have to keep myself pure. No, I have to do this. And we're told to shut it down forever until we are in a marriage position. And that's when you get to learn all about it. While simultaneously, young men and boys are fed different expectations from youth. Like, never get married, boys. Watch out for the old ball and chain. And all of us are denied access to like phys ed and sex education. So we are depending on these future husbands to have this knowledge that they also were not taught. And then of course touching upon pornography being pervasive and how easy it is for us to get our hands on it, but how that is not instructions. That's art and that's entertainment, but if that's the only place you're getting knowledge from, then we once again have potential for actively harming our partners, peer pressuring them to try things that are not actually enjoyable. They just make great camera angles. How's that? And it's dividing us in a time when we just want to come together. So please do check out Danielle XX. My handle is Desmaravette, DezMarivettE. You can find more information, and I'll be shopping it around as well. So hopefully Danielle XX is coming to a theater near you, especially in these next, we're on the other side of 6 months. 2025 will come one way or another, and every day feels like a great day to just exercise my autonomy and my liberties that people, not just women, people fought so hard for, and that I just see other people ready to just cash in for some tokens that are not gonna last long and are gonna harm all of us. So in a nutshell, time to save humanity. Check out my show.
Well, that's definitely a selling point for your show. Hopefully we'll get next time it's available on the theatrical stage, you'll come back and be able to promote that.
I would love to.
I'm always a fan of promoting, whether it's the theater or movies, TV shows, even comedy. So it all depends on what, if it's interesting and it's fun, I'm here to promote it. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to dive deep.
Yeah.
Romance novels, Bridgerton, one of many, I hope. I hope it just starts a revolution of romance novels coming to episodics.
Now,
that's the dream.
Now, let me ask you, though, before we go.
Yes.
Is there another franchise of romance books that you specifically would love to see be made in a series adaptation?
Let's go. Lisa Kleypas. She is the author of several... She's got a ton of books, but she has a Regency one called the Wallflower series, which are fun, but that's not the one I'm interested in. I think I'm full of Regency. I'm ready for the 1870s. Think the Gilded Age, that silhouette, but also in romance novels instead of like Wall Street. It's called the Ravenel series. I highly recommend reading them if you have not checked them out and you're in the market for some fresh romance novels. You get drama and romance. The first one is love-hate, so if that's your thing, go for it. I don't love enemies to lovers, which was another reason I had a problem with Anthony's book. Anthony. But no, it's just so wonderful, and it weaves in her original series, The Wallflowers, so you see them again as adults, and their children are in a few of them finding romances together. Scandalous. Yes, if I was already in a position of working with Netflix and the right television companies and producers, I would be showrunner of that. And also inserting myself in that. Inserting myself where?
Well, thank you so much for being here. We at the Dragoon's Lair podcast are so happy to have you as a friend of the show and have you as a guest periodically. And we hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Oh, it's been a pleasure, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, and we're back. So thank you, Danielle, for having a very interesting conversation with me about Bridgerton. Yeah, thank you. You know, love having her on the show. I mean, it's going to be about 2 years for the next season of Bridgerton. So we'll see if we can get her on for something else. But in the meantime, thank you again for being on the show. And now I want to talk like the Acolyte.
Okay.
The Acolyte is in a very weird place for me right now because it's very slow, but at the same time, it has some really cool elements to it. So, like, Jimmy, what did you think of the last couple episodes of that since we left off?
Where do we start? Well, since I got the impression that the helmet looked almost like an alien,
Yeah. Well, the latest episode we did find out about that.
That was sick.
Yep.
And then she decides to put it on, and then we see the swap. Because they did a freaking the first time like somebody annihilates all the Jedi almost in an assassination there or killing because they're trying to get her back. But it's going to be interesting seeing where this story goes because now that he went east. And then coming west was the Jedi, and they told him, "Stay there, we're coming for you." Yeah, no.
Yeah, you're asking the guy from Squid Games to stay put.
Yeah, not
good
gonna
luck.
happen.
No.
So, Mike, what did you think?
Like what you, excuse me, like you said, long to get going. Kind of, I'm trying to keep my interest in it. I feel myself just like wanting to change the channel when I'm watching it. It's slow. Jimmy said the helmet looks like the alien. I'm waiting for something to pop out of it. I'm struggling to get through it. Give you the God honest truth. I have to go back and watch it again because I'm watching it the first time and it doesn't capture my interest. I have to go watch it 2 or 3 times.
Well, that's the thing.
Just to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and listen, that's perfectly fine. You know, not everything is going to be for everybody.
Right, exactly.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, I enjoy doing what we're doing right now is we can have a dissenting opinion where it's like, I'm enjoying it, but I do have that feeling like you do of that it is very drawn out. It's like I have to be in the mood to watch the episodes. It doesn't feel like some of the other stuff, like an episode of The Mandalorian. I wanted the next episode.
Yeah.
I was craving the next episode. This one, I'm like, oh, there's a new episode this week.
Oh boy.
It's like you're just kind of remembering.
You're going through the motion.
Yeah. But I will say the lightsaber combat that they did for the Jedi fighting off against this one rogue guy that he's not even a full Sith or anything. And it's like the fight scene was really cool. Him taking out like as many Jedi as he did all on his own was completely like, whoa. He really went through everything. And they were already taking out some like heavy hitter Jedi anyway.
He took out the Jedis and he took out those slug, what do you call?
Yeah, those weird like alien bird creature things. Like
Yeah.
He took them out too.
yeah, after they got him to get picked up by them so they could escape.
Yeah.
So it was really cool the way they've done this. And it's like even in the latest episode, he reveals he doesn't want anything more than the rule of 2. So he basically wants an apprentice so he can be basically a Sith master.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see where they're going with it, but at the same time, it's a different time period, so it's slower.
Yep.
It's not going to be as quick paced, and unfortunately, you would figure this is like the Jedi in their heyday, in like their prime. This is why, like, I really would have rather have them done like take the story from Knights of the Old Republic and make the game into a movie,
Right.
into like a series.
Weren't they supposed to do that and it got canned?
That was they were talking about it, and then they started switching over to the High Republic. And I'm like, you guys keep changing things so much. And I mean, I will say a lot of things that I do like when it comes to Star Wars is a lot of the stuff that comes from people who are involved in it, like Sam Witwer. Seeing him talking about, like, people have brought it to his attention where it would be kind of cool, and he's kind of interested depending on how it would be, because he's done a lot of the voices. He was the voice for Darth Maul for like the Clone Wars and everything, but he was Starkiller in the game.
video game.
Yeah, so him playing Vader's apprentice, and meanwhile it would be interesting to see him come across Ahsoka, where it was Anakin's apprentice, because they both wield two lightsabers,
Right.
and he does have like a reverse grip on his with at least one of them as well. So it would be an interesting thing to see something like that.
Now, let me ask you this question. This is under the category of not a chance in hell of it ever happening, but would you be interested? Because you've played both.
Knights of the Old Republic.
No, the other one.
The Force Unleashed?
The Force Unleashed games.
Force Unleashed?
Force Unleashed games. You played them both, correct?
Yes.
Would you like to see a show based on that, following Starkiller?
I would, but at the same time, because they keep trying to change the canon, I would love to see it, but it would have to be with Sam Witwer as Starkiller. And that's like a big, like,
Yeah, under
like
the category of
commitment.
never going to freaking happen.
Well, that's the thing, because it's it's kind of almost an alternate timeline, because you figure they've kind of almost erased his like character from the games and everything. Like, they erased that anyway, because now it's like they're more focused on these newer games, which I haven't played the second one.
No.
What is it? What are those two titles? The Jedi Outcast, not Jedi Outcast. Survivor.
Yes.
Yeah. So like,
And then even Amazon just put one out too.
yeah. So what did Amazon put out?
Amazon put out a game specifically for them. Star Wars put out a game through Amazon specifically for them. Don't know, I forgot the name of the game, but it's
What platform is it on?
PS5.
Man, well, that's not surprising.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna put it
And
on.
Xbox X.
Yeah. Xbox. Putting it on the Xbox means nothing.
Yeah.
Because it'll be on like this on Steam and everything. You'll be able to play it on the computer. So you play it on the superior system, which is the PC.
Yeah.
Or you just play it on the console, which I'm like, I almost wish I would have gotten, but I don't think my computer could handle playing Baldur's Gate 3 on the PC with how intense the game is. So I have it for the PS5. But the save files are so massive. I have to stop playing until I get an external hard drive or get another one of like the solid state drives to put in there.
All right.
Because those save files are literally as big as the game.
Jesus.
So I only have 2 games on the system, and that's it. And it's like the save files alone won't save anymore if I keep playing.
Won't let you override?
I have to like delete save files. But it's like I want to be able to go back to certain moments. That's why I saved
Star
it.
Wars Outlaws.
Yeah, Outlaws.
It's an exclusive for Amazon on PS5.
Yeah. And then they have another thing that's like that. I think that's the one that's like online only, but it's like you have to pay a subscription and a whole bunch of other shit. I don't think it's worth it. Like, it's not a Star Wars game that really like.
It calls to you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. Star Wars has been a franchise that I've loved since I was a kid, and I will fight with any of the fans when they start shitting on everything. It's like, listen, the newer fans don't get it because they didn't grow up with the drought that we had when we were kids, where it was like, okay, we got the original trilogy, and then what did we get after that?
Looks like a Jar Jar Binks.
No.
We got Ewoks and droids.
Yeah, we got
That was the original.
The
Yeah,
cartoons.
cartoons.
We got-
Cartoons, 2 Ewok movies on ABC.
Yeah, in Ewok Adventure and Battle for
Caravan of Courage.
which was basically the first one, and then
Was
it was
it?
Battle for Endor.
Oh, right, okay.
Was the second one. So Ewok Adventure, Caravan of Courage, and then it was Battle for Endor.
Yeah.
But they're really, it's like, that's what we got for Star Wars. If it wasn't video games or books, we didn't get anything else.
Comics, yeah, comic book.
And
Yeah.
two arcade games, which even when I was down, I didn't
Yeah.
even see.
Yeah.
But-
I remember it was the regular Star Wars was like a dot matrix one where you got to play.
Oh yeah,
and
that
destroy it.
was, ugh.
And then there was the Return of the Jedi where you're the battle for Endor and
Yeah.
get to fight in the.
And I mean, until like the 90s, when it's like, but I have a hate relationship because they've been showing them on television for the holidays, and they tend to do it on like TBS,
They just did.
Yep,
TNT.
they just had a marathon of it.
On Fox.
Yeah, and I was pissed
On FX,
yeah,
excuse me.
and I was pissed with that marathon. Why? Because I'm tuning in. I happen to like change the channel. I see it, and it's the special editions. And I've been pissed with Lucas ever since the late 90s for these special editions. It's like you're changing my childhood because you wanted to adjust something. I didn't ask for an adjustment. I love the movies the way it was. You fuck shit up by making like, oh, Han shoots first, and then you got to change it back. So it's a
Did they
weird
ever
little-
change it back?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did.
good.
But it's a weird little like head glitch
Like,
and
yeah,
stuff.
like the Matrix moves his head. I mean, if I were to ever have a chance to talk to Lucas, one question: why did you make that change?
Yeah,
Because
it's
I mean, that kind of took some of the badass
The
away
second
from
one
Han Solo.
changes when he puts Hayden Christensen at the end of Jedi.
you know what? I can almost forgive that because it's like they didn't have an actor
Right.
for it. So
I mean, yeah, if when you see, I mean, I'm just looking back at it now, you didn't have an actor playing young Anakin, so you didn't know what it looked like, and you wouldn't use an older Anakin. So, okay, putting Hayden Christensen in there,
yeah,
it drew some heat. The guy who was the original one, people were like, oh, why'd you get rid of him?
yeah. But also getting rid of like the Yub Yub song at the
I like
end.
the
Yeah.
song.
It's like that was like there were certain elements where I'm like, you got rid of things that we
It was
enjoyed.
cute.
It's like you change certain things. Okay, I can forgive Hayden Christensen being put in at the end, but at the same time, there are other elements that didn't need to be put in there.
And a lot of people give Hayden Christensen shit for doing all this. It's not his decision.
No.
You as an actor, you're saying, hey, look, like Ahmed Best,
Yeah,
the actor who played Jar Jar. So he's struggling actor. Hey, we have a part for you in Star Wars. Do you want to do it? Yes, please.
Yeah.
You're not going to say no. And then he gets shit on
yeah.
for doing same thing with the woman who played Rose in the
Listen,
sequel trilogy.
That's why I said like the Star Wars fandom is probably has to be considered one of the most toxic fandoms
Yes.
out there. And the thing is, it's like it's something that everyone should be able to enjoy.
Right.
But it's like you realize it's made for kids. We've all grown up with it. We can still enjoy it, but you have to still have that childlike wonder. If you don't have that and you can't set it aside,
and you're going to nitpick every little thing.
oh yeah, it's like, oh, well, we're gonna blame Kathleen Kennedy for all this. No. Guess what? She's put out some good quality products. You can't tell me that you haven't enjoyed like something that was there.
No one has a perfect record. You are going to do shit that will piss people off. No two ways around it.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. You know what? If there was a filmmaker who had a perfect record, it was going for a while. People said Tarantino could basically do no wrong.
Right.
And then he went and
did wrong.
Yeah. So he's made shit that we're sitting there and we look at, and it's like,
Like, why did you do this?
The Hateful Eight is a prime example of like, oh my God, what the hell were you smoking when you decided to make
And
this?
not only that, then he did the extended version on Netflix. He gave to
Yeah.
Netflix.
Why do we need like that? And this is the thing: we don't need an extended version of everything. Lord of the Rings definitely needed an extended
Yeah.
version because it was like there were so many things from a book that are being cut
Same
out.
thing with The Hobbit.
Yeah, The Hobbit was an overextension.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that they could have done in 2 movies, and then they make it 3, adding an extra fake love story in there and a whole bunch of other stuff. There was no need for it. You know, that's like basically like, I'm not a Godfather fan. oh my God, I've said something that is going to set people off.
You disrespected the family.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem with that, you can email us at where, Dan?
DragoonsLairPodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's DragoonsLairPodcast@gmail.com.
That's one.
Yeah. Thank you for setting me up for that
You're
one.
welcome.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
no. So the thing is, listen, it's a controversial take. It's a hot take. I have a film degree, and The Godfather is not for me. But at the same time, you know what? Maybe if I saw this other version that people have talked about where it was a cut that was done for, I think, for like cable or whatever, where it was 1 and 2 in chronological order.
The Godfather Saga. That
Yeah.
was done for NBC.
Yeah.
Many moons ago.
So it was one long thing and it was in chronological order. I might have liked that one if I saw it, but I haven't seen it. But you're going to give me a third movie for that one where it's like, no, this is trash.
It's a cash grab.
It wasn't even a cash grab, it was trash.
Too.
No,
But-
I think that's what they made it. Oh, let's
Yeah.
try to cash in
Yeah.
more on the Godfather.
And that's the thing.
Name.
No.
But it's not for me. Other
Right.
people enjoy it. I'm not going to take away from somebody else's enjoyment. But at the same time, don't force me to watch something if I don't want to.
Exactly.
Now, granted, I force you guys to watch a bunch of stuff that you may not want to watch, but then sometimes you really enjoy it.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't. But we're all entitled to the opinion. And that's the thing. It's something that we're able to do. That's why, like, Star Wars is something where the Acolyte, you're able to say it's slow. You feel like you're forcing yourself through
Right.
it. And you know what? Maybe there's going to be an episode there where it's going to capture your interest, but we haven't gotten to that.
haven't gotten to it yet.
And guess what? If it wasn't for that lightsaber battle and stuff, I probably would have started to lose interest and been like, we're going to stop talking about this until the season's over. We'll slug through it, finish it off, and then stop. But because that lightsaber fight got me like, all right, this is kind of cool. It has a few elements from Duel of the Fates, but not really, because it's like there was so much more going
Right.
on. So it's like, you know what? It wasn't just 2 versus 1. And this guy only had a single-bladed lightsaber, really. So it's like, it's not Darth Maul.
Right.
Which Darth Maul, great concept, but, you know. And, you know, like you said, when people want to complain about Hayden Christensen,
It's not his fault.
if you'd like to go back and look at his early work before he did Star Wars, go take a look at a Canadian melodrama, Higher Ground. Mm-hmm. Now, there's great cast in that, mind you, but you see the overacting of, like, if he was on a soap opera. And it felt like, for the character of Anakin, he had moments where it was like soap opera acting, where it was more theatrical and it's like overacting. The way that people sit there, and we've had film professors that, I know I had them, Jimmy might have had them, I don't think you did though, where they went and they said how James Dean was such a wonderful actor. I'm like, I watched Rebel Without a Cause. He was not a great actor. He was a stage actor, and that was probably great. Mm-hmm. But on camera, it was so hamish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, it really was overdone.
Being a great stage actor doesn't translate into being a great
Actor.
film actor. 2 different mediums. You know,
Yeah.
When you're on stage, sometimes you do have to go a little bit over the top to make your point across, because you're not having, you know, all the special effects and all the
You're also
Post-editing.
You're also not getting close-ups.
right. You're not getting close up, so you have to go a little over the top. So, you know, one doesn't translate to the other, and I think what made in the case of James Dean was how he died.
Yeah.
And the age at which he died, and it was like, oh my God, he could have done so much. Yeah, he could have done a whole lot more, but if you look at his brief work, were they outstanding movies? No. Were they
They were
good?
fair.
Right. They were good, fair, enjoyable movies. I'm not
Giant.
saying, oh my God, just you know,
Yeah.
he's the be all end all. No, he was a good actor for the time.
Now, I want to change topics right now, and I want to go on to The Boys.
Boys.
Because I have to say, the controversy that's going on online right now makes me laugh, because The Boys never came off as a conservative show.
No, not at all.
And everyone, for conservative, liberal, they've been enjoying The Boys. But it took 4 seasons for conservatives to start realizing they were being made fun of. I'm like, it took you 4 seasons. If you didn't figure this out by at least by season 2.
Yeah, you're slow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. It's like all the stuff. Whenever you see the Vought International like television spots and stuff, it's Fox News.
Yeah.
And this latest episode, tell me that didn't remind you of like the D23 Expo of them telling you their latest slate of like upcoming superhero movies. I was like, oh my God, like they're up there doing this. And I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. It's like, and some of these movie titles, it's like they are blatantly racist and offensive.
And meanwhile, the other people are fighting these rabid, wild goats.
Flying sheep that are eating people.
Including bulls.
Yeah, it was like they tore that bull apart.
Yep.
It's like,
And yet somewhere thinking, that's a good idea. Let's go make that movie.
Let's go make a rabbit.
you know what though? It's like, oh, these superheroes, it's like we're marketing them. Yeah, they're a marketing ploy. That's exactly what it is.
What it is.
It's like, these are fabricated. You saw it in the episode where they were trying to get Ryan to make his first save.
Right.
And like make his spotlight as a superhero. It's like, it's all staged.
Yeah.
The fact that it's all staged and they know when a crime is going to take place, it's like, no. Yeah. Have they stopped a few crimes and stuff and saved things separately?
Maybe.
Yeah, probably, but they also have an entire crime lab that's telling them, hey, we've got like information, the crime is happening now, you guys go and we're going to send these specific people in. Okay, but it's marketing.
Right.
This is like, no, this is what a superhero movie would be, behind the scenes,
Right.
if anything. And it's like, Homelander, oh my God.
Got milk?
He's been on that kick since season 1
Yep.
with Elizabeth Shue.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, Elizabeth Shue, to this day, she is still gorgeous.
Yeah.
My thing is this. If the breast fits, suck it.
Listen, I love a lot of the stuff that this show does, but they've gone above and beyond with the ridiculous elements. And I mean, Frenchie just going to jail.
And he doesn't want to see anybody.
Yeah, he turned himself in because of his own guilt. Now, Mike, did you watch the latest episode?
No, I missed the last one.
Oh my God! Now we're going to give you some spoilers,
Hey.
and you're going to want to watch this.
Okay.
Yes.
They have a Spider-Man kind of hero in this one. What was it, Webweaver?
Yes.
God.
Webweaver, which MM comes in to like try to get his because they're trying to get his costume to infiltrate like
Right.
this kind of right wing, like very like conservative, like political movement that they're trying to start. And this guy's on the guest list. So he brings him some drugs. He goes to shoot, like the guy's like, I need you to do it for me because I'm really fucked up. He goes to shoot. It's like, I need you to take the lube and stick it up my ass.
God.
He puts it in his web hole. And yes, he has a web hole from the backside above his ass. And he sticks it in there and it's like, oh no, you got it in my web hole.
And not only that, then they made Huey wear the suit.
Yeah, and everyone is like, oh my God, the smell. Like, and apparently it turns out Tech Knight is into some really kinky bondage
yeah, shit.
S&M shit. And Huey now in the costume of
Is his bitch.
yeah,
Yep.
he has to go through this. They make Huey sit on a German chocolate cake, and Tech Knight tells him to fart
Yes.
while he's sitting on the cake, mind you. And Tech Knight has a chain around his neck, and he's like leaning into it to asphyxiate himself.
God.
He's getting a chubby in between.
Oh, poor Huey gets dominated
Abused.
and abused in this episode.
Yeah.
You were like, oh my God. But it was just like, and MM is having a panic attack So, and that's the thing. It's just, there's so
When Nicole
much.
dropped her damn phone, she's using books.
Oh yeah, but we now know that what's her name?
What, Firecracker?
No, the other one, Sage. Sage basically goes, and if you shoot her in her
You
heart,
shoot her in the heart, she's dead.
you
Goes without
you
saying.
damage her brain. Her brain keeps regenerating.
Okay.
So basically, she's had the deep help lobotomize her, so she can have fun with the deep.
She don't like him.
She doesn't like him while she has her brain intact, but she becomes an idiot when she goes and she gets lobotomized, so she can kind of relax and like calm down. She gets shot in the head when before she's supposed to give like this whole big thing of like to convince these politicians to like side with them and like overthrow the presidential nominee of Singer. And oh my God, she's shot in the head and she's such an idiot. Like she's
like a kid.
Yeah,
She's a kid.
Yeah, it's
Because the brain the brain that was in her regenerates, and she's now an 8-year-old.
but she's like
Eating cake.
She's sitting there like eating cake, like watching stupid television shows and shit. It is literally hilarious to see this because now Homelander's trying to get his point across, and it's like trying to look to Sage, who's supposed to be a strategist,
Right, and she's sitting there like,
And he's ready to shit his pants because he's like,
he doesn't know what to
he
do.
looked like Sheldon when they were on that episode when they were on that game show between the two of them, and he's like, he don't know it. He don't know. It's like that's how he was.
Yeah, it's like he was glitching out. So, I mean, this is definitely an episode. It's extreme. It's not as extreme as like the Hero-gasm.
And remember, the magic word is Zendaya.
Yes, apparently, because there's a safe word for web weaver, and Huey doesn't know it. So he's
But the butler did it.
The butler knows. And
I just think it's funny that it's Zendaya.
Oh, yeah. Tech Knight, though, is like, he has superpowers, but all he has is super senses, so he can, like, has a hypersensitive smell, hypersensitive vision.
sweating.
He can see, like,
nervous.
tell if you're nervous, if your heartbeat is going erratic. He's extremely rich. He's Batman. When he asks Webweaver to be his sidekick, it's to have him as his submissive, but he takes him down to the tech cave.
Oh, God.
And
And he's got a gimp in there.
yeah,
Get the gimp.
The gimp with a ball can go.
yeah. It was like no, and this kid didn't even have a gag in his mouth.
No, he had a ball gag.
Yeah, he had a gag, but he couldn't. Like he was chained to the wall. He's watching Huey getting abused and everything.
And then he finally
He gets his revenge by the end, but it was just like, oh my God.
so did everybody else.
Oh yeah, but the fact that Tech Knight was that, it was like, oh my God. And the thing is, it's like it's one of these shows that it's like each episode for the boys is the complete opposite of watching The Acolyte, where The Acolyte is very slow.
Yeah.
This is like an hour-long episode where you're
And it
sitting there like, what are they doing next?
Keep
Right.
coming.
And it's like, I can't wait for like the next episode. I just wish they gave us episode previews on like some of these streaming platforms.
Oh, like they do with Doctor Who.
Yeah, Doctor Who gives you the stream, like ever since it went to Disney Plus, even before then, they would tell you like what's going to be on the next upcoming. There's no preview for the next episode.
Sometimes that could be a good thing where it kind of leave you like, okay, I want to see what's going on next. 'Cause
Okay.
if you remember,
I think it
back
would,
in the day, we didn't do that in regular TV.
yeah, but you would definitely think it would help for like the Acolyte.
Oh, some of it, yes.
Because then
some
you know-
shows, yes,
you-
you want to know what's coming next. But shows like that, you're like, okay, leave you in suspense. What the fuck's gonna happen next?
Yeah, but then they'll give you a recap of what happened
Right.
before, and it's like, I don't need to know what happened before. I need to know what I'm walking into
Right.
now. So, yeah. Now, One of our last topics before we get onto the last show that I put on the list, I want to ask: have you guys watched anything recently that like you want to talk about, or anything that like just it was something that stood out for you?
I've been so busy lately, I haven't really been watching anything.
All right. What about you, Jimmy?
Well, thanks to you, I finally got back to even watching the Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I'm up to the season finale.
So you haven't watched it yet?
I haven't watched it yet. I've understood through the trailers, as we said.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It gets just like every Doctor, with the exception. Well, maybe Peter was a little. What's the word Mike uses? Meh. I'm going to use it. Sorry.
Meh.
I got to use it. But it's amazing how they just get better and better, and the things they do, where they go and everything. They keep touching certain areas with every Doctor, and it
goes back and forth. So it's like, even if you didn't see all the previous like older Doctor Who's,
and now after this episode, you're like, who is that? No, wait, who is that? Wait a minute, who'd you?
and
Oh, I gotta go watch all these Doctor Who's now.
Yeah.
I gotta go find them.
they have Classic Who, I think, is on Disney Plus as well. I know they have that from 2005 on.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think they also have Classic Who. Classic Who can be a little hard to watch because it's very dated. But not only is it very dated, but it's like it wasn't shot very well, so like the quality doesn't always look right. And there were, from the original series and stuff, there were episodes that were lost to time. There were some that are photo recreations where they have like the audio but not the visuals.
Right.
So it's like they're using still photos. So it can make it a little difficult for some of the older stuff.
Right. Plus, if you're a Doctor Who fan now, going back watching it, then you have the expectation, okay, the graphics and
yeah.
Yeah, and you're going back, you're watching like, oh, this is tough.
And
it's
even like
watching a stage play on screen.
And not only that, you don't have some of the elements that are now staples in Doctor Who. Like, the original Doctor didn't have a sonic screwdriver.
Right.
Like, that was not a thing. It took a while before they even got to that.
And if you notice, every Doctor doesn't have the same sonic screwdriver.
No, they change it up for each Doctor, which is a great toy gimmick because you can buy a different screwdriver.
New Doctor, new screwdriver.
New Doctor, new screwdriver, new toys, new techniques, etc.
Yeah, but they can retell some of the same stories just in a different way,
right?
Because now it can be taken from a different perspective.
It can be made better.
Yeah. Now, I will say, like, I've watched a few different things lately, and one movie that I did watch recently that I did want to address, it's a rental right now, so I didn't want you guys to have to pay to watch it, but I highly recommend If.
I want to see If.
Oh, If with
John Krasinski directed.
I want to see that.
And Ryan Reynolds.
I've seen it.
Let me tell you, as I've gotten older, I used to be able to sit there stone-faced through everything. Nothing would get an emotional reaction out of me when it came to movies or TV shows, really. And this one, I started tearing up. It has that emotional gravitas. John Krasinski did such a great job, and the movie is dedicated to Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah. Really?
Yep.
He's one of the voices of the imaginary friends that before he had passed away.
Good.
So they dedicated the movie to him.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it also.
If is definitely one of those movies. Yeah, I didn't see Imaginary, but because there was another movie that came out recently, Imaginary, but it's not the same thing. If is Imaginary Friends, and I'm like, it's Ryan Reynolds. I was going to watch it no matter what, but seeing this, and the emotional, weight behind it.
And then seeing who his character is and what.
The motivation, it's all so heartbreaking at points where you feel it. And it's like, if anyone was a kid and had an imaginary friend, you can kind of relate to it.
Right.
Now, another one that I did see was I saw Inside Out 2.
How'd you like it?
I liked it, but at the same time, I'm not the target demographic because I'm also not a teen girl.
Yeah.
So the emotions aren't going to be the exact same. But I can remember kind of having some of those emotions. Mm-hmm. But then again, I wasn't somebody who gave a shit about fitting in with everyone, and
Or even anyone.
Yeah.
man, really, I didn't give a shit. You either like me, you like me. You don't like me, you don't like me. And if you don't like me, it's your loss, not
Oh,
mine.
shit.
But you've never liked me from
I never
day
liked you
one.
anyway, yes.
Yeah. The fact that we've been friends for like over 20 years at this point.
Basically, all of us.
Yeah.
And if you got a comment about that for everybody, you can email us at
DragoonSlayerPodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. So that's DragoonSlayerPodcast@gmail.com.
DOS.
But yeah, no. Inside Out 2 was not like it felt like that because there was also a little bit of a disconnect because 2 actors didn't come back
Who?
to revoice their characters. Mindy Kaling didn't come back.
No.
And neither did what's his name?
Louis.
No, Louis Black was back.
Louis Black was
Yeah,
back.
he could be only be Anger.
Yeah.
What do you call Hader was there? What do you call? She did her.
No, it was the one that was anxiety, not anxiety, the fear.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, he went.
That's
He was
what you call
changed.
Hader.
No, Hader didn't come back.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah, Hader didn't come. Bill Hader didn't come back, and neither did Mindy Kaling.
Yeah.
So Hader and Kaling not coming back, it kind of changed the feel a little bit, and then the emotions that they brought in, it was like,
Yeah, you had it. It took a while to get used to it.
Yeah.
My wife cracked up because she didn't realize the voice of Sad
yeah,
was the same lady that's in Bad Teacher. I said, she's in Bad Teacher. She's like, no. I said, yup. She was in Bad Teacher. She's in the Honey Nut Cheerios commercial.
Yeah.
Because they do an off, because it's like an
yeah. Well,
office
the French one, Ennui.
yeah.
That one was one of the voices for the French version of another Disney project. So it's like she got cast in that one. You know, it's not a bad cast. I'm just not the target demographic. You know, it's why I haven't watched Disney's Red, because I know it's about a girl going through puberty. And it's like,
She turns.
yeah, I'm not the target demographic for this.
I just-
so I don't want
I
to.
agree.
I don't want to sit there and watch something that I'm probably like. I could maybe enjoy it, but I know I'm not the target
Yeah.
demographic. So it's definitely not going to be the
It's
thing.
not going to appeal to you.
Yeah. Now, I definitely say though, I highly recommend anybody out there watching If.
Yeah, I want to see that.
That's
Yeah.
one that it's worth the rental on Prime.
Very much.
And John Krasinski did a phenomenal job, like with this movie and the casting, like the
Did
voice.
he write it too or just direct it?
I think he just directed it, but he went and he's also in it.
Yeah.
But he all like the voices for the imaginary friends are a lot of like comedians,
Right.
and some of them it's so funny. And I think they even did if you like you're watching the credits, in the credits there's an imaginary friend that's invisible. And of
That's
course,
Bobby Moynihan.
yeah, the invisible friend.
Oh no! He was in the movie. I'm sorry.
No,
he was in
the
Jeremy.
invisible friend. Who was the invisible? The invisible
The Vanisher? Oh, that would be Brad Pitt.
Yeah. So, who is Kevin? Kevin. It's listed in the credits as like Brad Pitt.
There you go.
And
like-
every time that something happens, they blame
Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, it has like those cute little moments. So it's definitely one that I highly recommend. And if it got me to like tug on the emotional heartstrings, I gotta say that's definitely something that is going to resonate
Right.
with a lot of people. So I highly recommend that. So now our final topic that we're going to discuss is that 90s show part 2.
No.
Now, granted, I enjoyed that 70s show.
Yes.
And I watched it back in the day. You can't watch it nowadays because thank you, Danny Masters, for being a complete and total scumbag. And Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, yeah, you guys shouldn't have really written those letters. You know, now granted, Deborah Jo Ruck and
Herbert Smith.
Herbert Smith.
they wrote letters as well, but they are older and they weren't in the same social circles.
Right.
So they only saw a specific side of him. Now, Laura Prepon, she was another Scientologist. She says she's not anymore, but who knows when that kind of stuff comes up. But there's such a tie with Scientology and this cult that it basically costs them to get viewing rights on streaming platforms. But that 90s show, I mean, the first season had a lot of great cameos.
Yeah.
The cameos in that 90s show, season 2, part 1. Oh my God! Now you guys both watched it. All
Jane Bob
8
driving
episodes,
through
right?
the kitchen.
Now,
No. Excuse me. It's Sunny.
Sunny. So Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes coming in to take over for Leo.
Yep.
I was like, oh my God, this is great. And the fact that it's Smith, they look like Jay and Silent Bob, but they're not.
and his father, that's priceless. But the best is even when Red's in the hospital, Wayne Knight's his.
Oh yeah.
He says, "Listen, you want to call me? Call me between the hours of 2 and 4. Really? What's your name?
A.M.
Bob Penciotti."
Yeah. They brought back Bob, which was great.
Yeah.
But then, like the cameos alone. Now I got to ask before we go anywhere, who other than Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes, who was your favorite cameo?
Seth Green.
Yeah, I have to agree, Seth Green.
Even though Seth Green was in the original.
Yeah, but still, I wasn't expecting him to pop up.
See,
No.
I almost forgot, but then I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, how short is Seth Green?
He is short.
How they abused him.
Oh yeah. But I've got to say, like, one of my favorite, like, I had 2 favorite cameos. One is Carmen Electra, because she still looks phenomenal to this day. And I can say the same thing about one of my other favorite cameos, Lisa Loeb.
Oh, when she does the video.
When they do,
what are you doing in my house?
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing in my house? It's like, what are you in my apartment? And then she shows up in the bedroom later. It's like, how do you like it when someone pops up in your room? It's like, Lisa Loeb has also been another favorite character I love. She voiced Mary Jane in the MTV Spider-Man CG,
the CG
one.
with
Ian
Neil
Ziering and
Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah. So it was like, oh my God, but it was great to see her. And then it was like, oh my, the cameos just kept coming. And I loved all of these cameos. I was not expecting Wayne Knight.
Nope.
No.
And it was like,
My name is Bob. Bob Penciotti. Call me between the hours of 2 and 4 in the morning.
yeah, it's and that was the thing. It was just like, oh my God, like they really went all out. And I got to give them credit because this time, like the season 1 of that 90s show, they got cameos because Topher Grace came in.
Yep.
You had Laura Prepon.
Oh, that's okay. I got all the bags, everybody.
Yeah.
Not once,
but twice. Yeah. But then you also went and you had Wilder Valderrama had popped up in there, which
I am Fez.
Yeah, so
And
he recurred quite a bit in season 1
because he became her love interest.
Yeah, and then disappeared. Now he's completely.
Now what was it? Fenton.
Fenton. Yeah,
Was the landlord.
yeah. But then they went and they had Mila and Ashton. They popped up because. Yeah,
his son's on it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be their son.
No.
Another Kelso. Although one of my favorite moments is Bob showing up, seeing his granddaughter, and this Kelso, they're thinking they're gonna go, they're kissing and stuff. He comes in, grabs them, pull them out. It was the first time that Red and Bob were on the same
side.
page.
Yep.
They were both going to put their foot
It's like,
up his ass.
this is the first time I'm actually starting to like you, Bob. It's like, now, overall, what did you think of this first half of the season?
I liked it. It was, it had elements of the original show.
Yeah.
I liked it. I mean, what else can I say? It had elements of the original show. The guest spots, were great. It was a well-written show, and it was a good show. I
Yeah.
like it. I want to watch the rest of it.
Yeah, I was not expecting the Kevin Smith
no.
cameo, with,
No.
especially
And
with Jason Mewes.
That's one of the things. Like you see them pop up, like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that. Which makes it even more enjoyable.
Especially on the mid-season
Right.
break.
Right.
So now, Jimmy, what did you think overall?
I feel bad when Red comes back from Paris because he's gonna put his foot up Bob's ass.
Oh, he gonna kill somebody.
And he's gonna kill Leo too.
Can you fly, Bobby?
But that, all in all, it's like, first off, you bring in Ozzy, who's, oh God, this kid. He is such a negative half the time. He is, this character that they brought, it's like, where did they get him from? I like him. And then on top of it was, the worst thing was, you're like, okay, he's bringing his boyfriend in.
From Canada.
Eh?
You know, the funny thing is for me,
And
when he
he never showed up.
when he says he's got a boyfriend in Canada, all I kept thinking was the off-Broadway show Avenue Q, because there is the song from the puppet that turns out to be gay. It's like, I wish you could meet my girlfriend who lives in Canada. It's like, it's been a running joke that someone has a significant other in Canada, even back in like the Breakfast Club, which was, what was it? Anthony Michael Hall.
Yes.
It's like my girlfriend in Canada. It's like he did that for most of the John Hughes movies he was in. It's like my girlfriend in Canada. It's like, you don't have a girlfriend in
That
Canada.
just shows the writers, paying homage.
A good premise, and you just keep it
You
running.
keep it going, right? You're not beating it to death. You don't use it every episode. It's just there.
Yeah. So it's definitely one that I really enjoyed. I was happy with this season, and I'm glad that it was 8 episodes, and that wasn't the full end of the season. So we'll get more later this year.
Good.
So, I mean, that's the thing. We're going to get more stuff. And, I mean, right now, I'm a little disappointed because we're not going to be getting the Tyson fight versus
Until
Jake
November.
Paul.
Man.
Yeah, until November. It's like, it's at least been postponed. But that gives Jake Paul time to lose some of that weight that he put on in the beer gut. But it's like, no, seriously, like, the only thing I can say is I'm just like, I'm looking forward to seeing like what we get throughout the course of the summer. And I mean, we're going to be taking a break after next episode, and we all need a little bit of a break. And but we're going to have fun, and we're going to make it a memorable like season finale for everyone. So I want to thank everyone for listening to us. Thank you all for all the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Make sure you keep doing that, and let us all know exactly where you're listening to. What? Oh.
This is my friend Jimmy. What did I tell you?
Oh, yeah. That he's
This
sent him a picture. It's
sent
like,
us a picture going to work.
yeah.
This is a
Yeah.
Thanks,
work for
Jimmy.
Hawks Department.
Thank you. And that's the thing, we appreciate it. Thank you for letting people know. Any reviews that you leave us, it helps for the podcast.
Positive or negative. We need to know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong.
Yeah, which is why you can email us at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word, Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. Now, if you let us know, you can tell us what you like, what you'd want us to see. You can even give us recommendations. I almost want to see if there's a way that we can set up something where we got to take a look to see if we can get like a Patreon, and we can have top tier people, if they're willing to support the show financially, they force us to watch specific things, and it's not just me making the decisions on what we're going to watch. But yeah, so these are all things that we can do, and we want to try to institute these things in the upcoming season.
Because we're here for you.
I'm here for my own ego, but but nobody
Under the premise that we're being here for you.
yeah, but nobody.
I'm just here for the dip and the chips.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. We appreciate what all you guys are doing out there and spreading the love for the show, and we try to like share that out there. Mike, how many followers do we have on Instagram and like our Facebook group? Has that gone up at all?
Let's take a look here.
Because we haven't given any shout outs.
We haven't given any shout outs lately.
But then again, you weren't here last week.
I know. We gave one to my man. And it
Yeah.
was his birthday, too.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Jimmy.
Yep, happy birthday.
And
Hey.
he is a Star Wars fan.
Okay.
We got 68 followers. Doesn't look like anybody new jumped on as of yet. Yeah, 68. Nobody knew.
All right. So I guess you're being saved from going blonde, huh?
He still got to grow the mustache, Aunt Bunny.
Listen, the fact that he still hasn't grown it, it's like, I'm disappointed. I shaved mine off. I kept my word. You know, I wasn't going to keep it off, but I still did it. I came on air with my goatee gone. It felt unnatural. But yeah.
You look naked.
I felt naked. But that's beside the point, you know. Listen, everybody, thank you for the continued support. Thank you for making sure you like. The YouTube algorithm is not our friend, so we need the likes, the shares, we need the follows, so we need the subscribers. You know, if you're listening to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, make sure you leave us a review, like us, follow us. This way you get the latest update of when the new episodes drop. I do my best to make sure that we try to keep to a steady schedule. Sometimes we have a little bit of a lag, but I also blame that on our AI processes that we use. I'm using Opus Clips to make the shorts that we do on YouTube Shorts, the Reels, as well as the TikTok videos. So, you know, we're doing all that we can to make sure that we're providing content and that you guys are enjoying it. So we really appreciate each and every one of you out there. Now, Mike, anything you got coming up that you want to talk about, or how people can get in touch with you?
Well, in August, I will be in the Return of the Pink Panther playing 4 different characters, which is going to be interesting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can come down to the Little Victory Theater August 9, 10, and 11. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the following Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 16, 17, 18. You can get tickets for them at showtixforyou.com. I'll be going up to Nyack, New York to direct a play written by the very talented Matthew Gillese called One Foot on the Floor, which I've also turned into a film. Up in Nyack. That's in 3 weeks, and it's going to be the 26th, 27th, and 28th at the One Hill Playhouse in Nyack. I'll put postings on that on the social media. You want to follow the podcast, you follow the Dragoon's Lair podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram at Hamster Pellet Productions, and follow me, Michael Schiavo, on Facebook.
Now, Jimmy, how can everybody get in touch with you and anything you've got coming up?
I have everything on hiatus right now, thankfully.
Ooh.
Ooh. But listen, like I always say, 25,000 and making the cuts how many times? Twice?
Yep.
In a 1-year period? That's pretty damn good. You can reach me at Snapchat at JamesSI0925. You can reach me on Facebook, James Haynes IV. You can reach me on Threads and Instagram, JamesH_4. All right, and I usually post and tag so many of my good friends on there of the Dragoon's Lair podcast here. And on TikTok, James0925, you can also watch the little snippets and clips of the Dragoon's Lair podcast, which are amazing.
That's right. And it's easy to find me. It's Blue Dragoon 13 on most of my socials, which would be TikTok, Instagram, Threads. On Twitch, you can also find the link to the Discord page on Twitch, so join that community and help us grow so that we can do a bunch of inside stuff and interact with you guys even more on there. And you can make sure on the YouTube channel, Blue Dragoon 13, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and make sure you share this with all your friends so they can go. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts, or anywhere else that you get your podcasting platform needs met. And you can email us at dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word. Dragoon is spelled with 2 O's. That's dragoonslairpodcast@gmail.com. That's right. I hit a record 4 in one episode.
The record, baby.
Yeah. So now, but make sure that you get in touch with us. And if you're on Spotify, make sure you answer up on our polls. You answer up and let us know how we're doing. It all is helpful, and we appreciate everyone who contributes. and we're looking to get more fan interaction and everything in the upcoming years. So we're looking to do this to keep going. We're not looking to stop. Our next episode is going to be our season finale before we take a few week hiatus. And it'll also give us a couple chances to get our convention on, because we're going into convention season.
I already got Comic-Con tickets.
You got Comic-Con tickets. I'm waiting to see about our press passes for Anime NYC, but I'm also going to be going to Connecticut up in Connecticut the weekend of the 20th. So I'll be up there. I'm not going to be there the whole time. I'm only going to go for like one day, because getting a hotel room up there during the conventions is very difficult, and being able to go places where it's in driving distance is so helpful.
Yep.
So yeah, I want to thank you all once again. So you know what? I'm not going to say it this time. Mike, I want you to take us out.
In the words of the incomparable Daniel Gaeta, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now get the fuck out. No. If you're gonna do it, it's fuck you! You can't open the mouth like, fuck you! You talk through the teeth and strain the voice. Fuck you! Nah, you sound like you're trying to take a shit.
All right, later, everybody.